Hi there, it's Liz Yuille from Old Stables Crafts. Thank you for joining me again today. Today I am going to scare myself by crafting without having made a sample for you. So, this is actually part of a team challenge, and by the time you see this, the team challenge will be over. So, that's all good. The challenge is to case, and I don't know if you're going to be able to see this, to case one of these cards. So there's either that or that. And I'm going for this. These are out of the Stamping Success magazine, which is a demonstrator-only magazine. It's one of the benefits of being a demonstrator is we get this magazine that gives us all sorts of technique tips, it gives us samples, it gives us all sorts of great stuff. So, let's get started. I'm making this 6x6, so I've used a piece of Pool Party cardstock that I've cut in half. It's 12x12, cut in half, scored down the middle. It's not a mat, this is going to be a stamping piece, is 5 by 5.5. Don't worry about measurements, they will all be in the associated blog post, which is linked below. And then I've got one of my standard second layer mats to use as the feature piece. She said, hopefully. And a scrap. So, let's get started, and it's going to scare the bejeebers out of me. This is my colour palette. I've got Smoky Slate for the clouds, Coastal Cabana, Bermuda Bay for the balloon, Pretty Peacock for the sentiment, and Pool Party for the smaller balloons that are going to be in the background, hopefully. So, let's get started. I'm going to start with the clouds so that they can be doing their thing whilst we're doing everything else and whilst I'm scaring myself to death. I've kept my scrappy piece of grid paper because I want to stamp off, because I want them to be light fluffy clouds, not dark clouds. And I'm deliberately, going to turn my piece of card over, I am deliberately going to stamp off the edge of my piece of card because I always think it looks more meant if you don't stamp inside and only inside the card. I might do a few third generation as well, just to see. Oh yes, like those. So let's fill someone up here with third generation. Actually, I can come over here as well. Yes, like that. Like that a lot. We actually have, for those who like the weather report, we actually have something approaching summer today, not before time. We have had the most miserable weather for about the last fortnight, and I'm beginning to get sick of it. No, I'll rephrase that. I am sick of it. It's just not summer. And come on, guys, it's time for summer. So let's have some. There is a vague suggestion we might have some sunshine during the week. Not holding my breath. But yeah, we've got plans to do stuff outdoors. So that I'm going to cut up into strips. And in a moment I'll remember what size strips I was going to cut them into. Hey-ho. Right, so this is my background piece. And I'm going to get rid of those because I don't need them anymore. So let's clean those off. And I'm going to replace them with my... Oh, I should have told you which stamp set I'm using. I'm using Above the Clouds. Now, this is a bundle. It's in the new annual catalogue. I was going to say obviously, but it may not be obvious to everyone. It's in the new annual catalogue and it's a bundle. So if we go to page 4 and keep moving through, it's on page 8. It's then featured on page 89. And you can see that this is the bundle price. So if you buy the two together, you get 10% off. So if I move across to page 89 in my song sheet, there is the page with all of it on. I've written part of a bundle. So there we go. Right. That's the advertising over, as it were. I'm going to... No, I'm not going to use that. I'm going to use the little balloons. The baby balloons. And now they can move. So I would always, as in move, I mean they can do that. So we don't want that. We want them to be nicely relaxed. So pop them on a piece of card and pick them up with your block. And as you know, I like to, when I'm using them for the first time, either use a white eraser or the back of my hand. I'm going to get sun coming through, so bear with me while I do that. I haven't yet moved my room around. I am going to resolve the issue of sun once I've moved my room around. So, pool party for the background of the balloons. That's the word I'm looking for. I'm just checking my... Yep, just checking my original, the card I'm casing. Good grief, my brain, if I had one, it would be dangerous. And there. Yep, don't want it too busy. So clean that off and replace that with the one that does the infills, for want of a better word. And again, I'm going to leave that on my grid paper for a bit and then pick it up, rub it on the back and front of my hand apparently. Get rid of my pool party. So these are distinctive stamps. Just grabbing my Coastal Cabana. So they're like newsprint. They're dotty in a good way. So I'm just going to hover over and go for it. They're not all going to line up perfectly because, you know, life's like that. But they're going to be good enough for my background because I am going to cover quite a lot of this up. So, oops, that's very off, but never mind. Well, that might be where the big balloon ends up. We'll see. We'll see just how badly I stamp everything else. No, that's going to be where the big balloon ends up. I can see it happening. Okay, so let's just stamp that one. So we've got all of our balloons, or our background balloons stamped. So, move that away. Grab my big balloon, which I am going to stamp on a scrap. And again, make sure the film is off. And again, I'm inking up in Coastal Cabana. And it's probably over inked, but no, I think it'll be all right. Now, before I do that, always check before you stamp the direction of your punch. So I need the bottom of the balloon to be nearest the bottom of my piece of card. Otherwise, it's going to be interesting getting it into the stamp. Punch, even. Bermuda Bay for the... I'm not convinced by this balloon yet, but as in the way I've stamped... See, I didn't prepare that stamp, and it's bubbled. Sorry, I'm holding my breath, trying to line that up. Ish. I think we might be turning that over and trying again. I'm going to do it the other way around. I'm going to stamp my Bermuda Bay, which is the darker colour, and if I listen to myself occasionally, stamping the darker colour and then stamping over it is much easier because you can see what you're stamping, and then you can line it up. I do wonder sometimes, I really do. Okay, so that's those. Now we can have a baby basket, so we might as well have a baby basket. And I'm going to do that in Smoky Slate because I want to keep to my colour palette. So we'll bring Smoky Slate back in, and yes, that is Smoky Slate, and I'm going to stamp that, and then this, which is the inner, going to stamp off and then stamp. So that's our little basket. So get rid of some of these. Then I also need my sentiment. So I'm going to grab one of my strips, which I keep from trimming down my cardstock for my mat, and that I'm going to use Pretty Peacock for, because it's sort of in the same colour palette and it's new and I want to use it. And this says you're off to great places. Actually, I'm going to come in a bit. There we go. And you see that's bubbled because I didn't prepare my stamp. Now I've got ink on the back of my hand, but never mind. You may not be able to see it, but it's bubbled there. And I don't like it. Okay, so let us... I'm just going to grab this and wipe the back of my hand, because while it's relatively clean, I can do that. Just very quickly clean all of these. Don't know why I'm doing this now. Could wait. You could wait, Yuille, you could. But you've done it now. Okay, there we go. Let us see if we can make a balloon. Now, I would always suggest that when you get a new punch, you get a scrap piece of paper and you punch and punch and punch, because part of the manufacturing process is that there's oil left round the punch, which you don't really want on your cardstock. This is where, if I listened to myself, I would have made sure that I put my basket somewhere useful. There we go. As opposed to putting it somewhere where I couldn't punch it out. Hey ho. So what I mean is, I've got this scrap of paper and I've just punched and punched, and there is, I don't know whether you can see it, there's oil residue around here and here. But I punched it, 6 times, by which time it stopped putting oil residue on. So, all good stuff. Right, classic label punch. Concentrating again. If you could see me, you would know that my tongue was sticking out while I was doing that, because that's how it goes. Right. Let us pop this all together. I'm going to do this bit first. So I'm going to have my balloon, surprisingly, over the bit that's not very good. A few dimensionals. And then a baby dimensional for the basket. 1, 2, 3. So cover up my sin. It's not really a sin. Cover up the thing that went slightly wrong. Pop. See, it would be really helpful if I'd have stuck that on the basket rather than on the scrap that came out when I was punching the balloon, really, wouldn't it? Okay, here we go. Let's try that again. So there's our balloon and its basket. Then we're going to have this somewhere. And if I can find it, yay, can. We're going to add some Bermuda Bay mini stripe ribbon, which carried over from the last catalogue. So always good to know that. Right, let's clear the decks a wee bit. and come back in with our clouds so that we can pop everything together. Now, I know I did 4 in my head, so let's measure these, and I was in inches, so half of that is 2.5, which means I must have gone 1 1/4, so let me, 1 1/4 is right here, just before the edge of the bit on the trimmer, so if you've got one of these, not that they are available anymore, but if you have got one and you want 1 1/4, I find using, for small measurements, I find using this side is easier. And 1 1/4, and we're going to have slightly too much, so I'm going to, so let's just, actually I'm going to trim it off the top. So obviously I didn't measure perfectly at some point, but I do want these to be A, the same width, and B, running in a line. Now this is not going to be a cheap card to post, can I just put that out there? Because we've got lots of layers, but it's fine. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4. Actually, we can just stick those straight down, can't we? I need to change my blade. It's beginning to ruck. And rucking blades are not a good idea. Okay, so I'm just going to pop snail across the back of these. And I'm going to do the top and the bottom first, and then add the middle, so that I can get the distances right. And by right I mean even, because if you get your top and bottom in place, it is much easier to then place your other 2 pieces so that the gaps between them, the 3 gaps, are kind of even. That's what we're looking for. Right. I'm going to just position rather than push down at this point. So this one wants to go up just a smidgen a bit. To there. Whoops. No. To there, and then this one wants to go there, and then we can press everything down. Okay, where's my piece? There's my piece. So this is going to go on the top, and it's going to be on dimensionals, which is where it's going to get expensive. Sorry about that, but you know, sometimes it's worth it, and this is one of those times in my book. Now this is going to just cover top and bottom, and because it's on dimensionals, it's not vital that it's exact, because with the dimensionals people aren't going to notice as much. Right. Ooh, come along, come along. And I think before we finish, where are we time-wise? 19 and a bit. I think before we finish, for once in my rare life, or a rare time in my life is probably a better way to say it, I'm going to do a liner. Oh, such a thing was never heard of. So that's that. And then for this, I want a bit of edge. And that can just pop in there. So, right, liner. Let's get rid rid of all the rubbish. Let me grab a piece of Whisper White, a sort of scrap, one sort of scrap. So my card is 6 by 6, so my liner needs to be smaller than that. So we're going to go 5 3/4 by 5 3/4. And I am going to grab my balloon and my two, I'm going to go Coastal Cabana and the sun. I mean, I'm really pleased we've got it, but did it have to occur just as I'm filming? I think that's more a question of did I have to film just as it was getting bright? Probably a better question. Okay, so Coastal Cabana is now my darker colour. So I'm going to come down to the bottom and go off the bottom of my card. Then I don't have to worry about the basket. You'd think I'd thought this one through, wouldn't you? There we are, pool party on top. And let's grab a... So we've got You're Off to Great Places. Let Your Dreams Soar, I think will go well with that. So let's grab Let Your Dreams Soar. Pop my little basket back. Whoop. I've got almost literally flying stamps. And I think we'll go Pretty Peacock again so that we can tie the inside to the outside. Let Your Dreams Soar. Close that up. Grab my card. Get rid of that, get rid of that, and that and that. Grab my snail. Good grief, I actually managed to find it, having not buried it. Now for a moment on, where are we? Friday. Snail was back in stock, or at least the refills were. No, not anymore. Sorry, it was a reel. You have to grab them while they're there. I will try and let you know as soon as they're in stock, but with the best will in the world, I can only tell you what I can tell you. Okay, so I've got the Coastal Cabana glitter dots. I'm trying to find, I know it's on my desk. Oh, that'll do. It will do, but it's not ideal for... oh, can't see it for looking. I was looking for my now retired piercing tool. Coastal Cabana glitter dots. So we'll have... one there. Used to be indecisive, and now I'm not so sure. Tuck one in under there, and then we'll have a medium-sized one tucked in there. I like my triangles. So we've got a little triangle around the balloon that is the focal point and the sentiment. There we go! Lots of ink pads, lots of Whisper White paper, and not much else. So that is our, oops, punch falling over. That is our colour scheme again. I was going to add a bow, wasn't I? Ooh, no, I'm not going to add a bow. No, doesn't need a bow, not adding it. So that is our colour scheme. Pretty Peacock, Bermuda Bay, Coastal Cabana, Pool Party, Smoky Slate. So it's all those kind of teal shades. And I have to say I'm really pleased, bearing in mind I hadn't planned it in advance, other than in my head. Really pleased with how it turned out. Hope you are too. If you did, please give it a thumbs up. If you don't already subscribe, I would be thrilled if you would. It does actually make a difference. You don't get emails unless you want them. You can actually do weird and wonderful things with the notifications these days. One day I will get my head around them and I will let you know how. But at the moment, if you want an email every time I post a video, hit the notification bell. Otherwise, just subscribe, and then when you go over to your YouTube entry point, you will see that I have posted a new video because it will be there under your subscriptions. If you would like any of the products, I, again, would be thrilled if you're in the UK, if you would purchase from me. They will all be listed in the description below, where you will also find the blog post that goes with this video. So if you click on the link, it will take you straight over to the blog post, which will have close-ups and a bit more information, including the dimensions, and again, a list of the products I've used. If you have a large order, don't use the host code. If you have an order between £20 and £150, under £150, please use the host code, and you will get to share in the host rewards. I gave everyone a stamp set last month. If you do have a large order, please consider joining as a demonstrator, because you will get a discount on not only your starter kit, but also your future purchases whilst you stay active. So it's a really great way of subsidising your craft supplies, and you don't have to sell if you don't want to, so long as you cover the minimums yourself. You can stay active for as long as you like just by purchasing yourself. So thank you very much indeed for watching. I'm now going to go and do a bit of gardening, lock up the church, and generally make the most of what is now quite a pleasant evening. Thank you very much indeed for watching, and I look forward to seeing you again soon.